The cost of living here in Airdrie, Alberta, or in Alberta in general, has spiked over the last 5 years, up some 30%. So is Alberta still affordable? Are you still able to move from other places in Canada and build a decent life here? So if you're considering a move here to Airdrie, Alberta, this video is for you. And hang on to the end, there's a bit of a dramatic surprise as I wrap it all up. For those of you that are new here to living in Airdrie, Alberta, my name is Glenn Heslop. I'm the local Harley riding realtor here in Airdrie. We run a small family real estate team. My daughter Cassie is also an agent. Those of you that have already been in touch with our team probably familiar with our son Ben. He is our director of outreach. And my wife Angela, she works behind the scenes doing all the administrative. And when Cassie's out showing properties, then she's now the director of childcare. Okay, let's get into it. First up, housing. Let's compare the cost of housing across Canada. Vancouver. Cost of a detached home in Vancouver is just around $2 million. I think $1.9 million for a detached in Vancouver. That is a staggering amount of money. I know in the last year or so, sold a family from Surrey, just outside Vancouver, for those of you that aren't from the area, a home, and they sold their home for $1.7 million in Surrey and bought it back for $700,000 here in Airdrie, similar home, and put $1 million in the bank. It's dramatic, the difference here. Townhome. So a townhome in Vancouver is a little over $1 million, and an apartment about $700,000. I know we had a relative, I think they were buying a studio apartment around South Marine Drive in the south edge of Vancouver. And I think that alone was like this right on the island, right in Vancouver proper, was right about $700,000. And I was just telling them, hey, you could sell the apartment in Vancouver and buy a home on the water, on a water feature here in Airdrie. Okay, next up, Toronto. Okay, detached home in Toronto is now seeming rather affordable at $1.3 billion or so. Townhome just under $1 million, around $900,000, and an apartment about $660,000 in Toronto. Of course, these are all going to vary depending on the area you're in individual cities. All right, next, Ottawa. Detached home in Ottawa is just under $700,000. Townhome about in the 450s, and an apartment about $400,000. Okay, so how does that compare to Montreal? Detached home in Montreal is a little over $600,000. Townhome about $500,000, and an apartment about $425,000. Halifax. A detached home in Halifax is about $600,000, and a townhome about $450,000. And if anyone here is from the Halifax area, particularly if you're in real estate, if you could help us with some of these numbers. We did have a little trouble deciphering some of the numbers for the Halifax area and differentiating them from the rest of Nova Scotia. But detached about $600,000, a townhome about $450,000, and an apartment about $350,000. All right, so that brings us to Airdrie. Okay, so here in Airdrie, the median or the benchmark home for a single-family detached home in Airdrie is about $610,000, and single-family detached homes are really starting around $500,000. Townhome about $375,000. Say, I just got a client into, was it a mid 1,500 square foot 3-bedroom townhome with giant front windows facing west. 2021 build, so quite new, for $374,000. So that's quite reasonable. Lots of options in that range. An apartment about $278,000 here in Airdrie. So we're really seeing that that homes are a lot more affordable in the Airdrie area. Just quickly, for those of you that may consider renting as you're moving here to the area, quick comparison. I put together some stats. 2-bedroom apartment, Vancouver, about $3,300. Toronto, about $2,800. Ottawa, surprisingly, $2,500. It's actually not that different than Toronto. It's quite surprising. If you're from Ottawa, let me know if that's that number seems correct. Montreal, about $2,200 for a rental. And Halifax, about $2,500. Airdrie is quite a bit less. It's under $1,800 for a 2-bedroom apartment. Of course, there's some variance depending on the apartment. Some are a lot less, and of course, some of them will be more. All right, one of the costs of home ownership is property tax. And I know we noticed this, and we were just playing around with the idea of what would it be like to live in different cities. We saw a video on real estate in Houston, Texas, and living in the woodlands of the north end of Houston. And houses were like these mansions for what seems like crazy affordable on a Canadian scale. But what we did find is that property taxes could be 4 or 5 times what they would be here. So, and I think you'll find this a little bit insightful. And so we're going to look, okay, first of all, for Vancouver, your single family home, expect to be about $6,600 in property tax. The townhome, about $3,800, and an apartment, about $2,500. Compare that to Toronto. Toronto, your single family detached, expect a whopping $11,000 for property taxes. Is this correct, guys? This is insane. Townhome, about $7,500, and an apartment condo, still about $5,000 in property tax. That's almost $500 a month. That's just wild. Ottawa, single family detached, again about $9,800. Am I missing something? Why are the Ontario property taxes so high? Townhomes, about $7,400. And an apartment in Ottawa, expect taxes about $5,500. Again, approaching that $6,000, which is $500 a month. So, Montreal. Now, these are like dramatically less than Ontario. Maybe it's because the Quebec is subsidized by Alberta transfer payments. I'm not sure. Single family detached home property taxes about $4,600. Townhome about $3,300, and an apartment condo about $2,600. So there must be something different there. Halifax. Single family detached home, about $7,000 property tax, and a townhome, about $5,400, apartment condo, about $4,000, probably $4,200. All right, so how does this compare to living in Airdrie, Alberta? So your detached, benchmark detached home that we were talking about, like the $600 and some $1,000 home, is probably going to be just under $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000 in property taxes. The townhome, about $2,500 a year for property taxes, and about $1,800 for that apartment. A lot less than pretty much everything else we've looked at in Canada. Okay, number 3, utilities. So looking at utilities, looking at home ownership rather, one of the costs of owning a home is property taxes. The other is keeping the lights on, keeping it warm, and keeping the water coming out of the tap. So we combined the electricity rates, the estimated heating costs, keeping in mind climate in these different areas. So these are going to be roughly a monthly average throughout the year. It can be dramatically different in the colder months and then less in the warmer months, and including municipal utilities, so water, sewer, garbage, etc. So in Vancouver, for your single family detached home, expect to pay about $400 a month on average throughout the year. Toronto is just a little bit more, but not dramatically more. It's about $450 a month to keep the utilities going in Toronto. And this one surprised me a little bit, and maybe you can tell me if this is right, but it looks like about $350 for the utilities in Ottawa. And I'm not sure what the difference is. Ottawa is quite a bit of a colder climate. I thought it would have been more than Toronto. Now, the data we got from Montreal, I'm not really sure this is correct. It comes out around $200 to $215 a month for a single family home. Maybe you guys can help me out. If you're from Montreal, can you help me out what you would expect to pay for utilities, and we can update that in another video. It just seems like a bit of a low number. The water sewer utilities seem unreasonably low in the estimates that we've got, but maybe they're subsidized. I'm not sure. Halifax. Halifax is quite a bit more for utilities there, and particularly on the electricity and the heating side. Relatively affordable on the water side. About $500 and some dollars, $530 a month is kind of what you're expected to pay in Ottawa. But here in Airdrie, Alberta, and it's quite similar to what you'd expect to pay in Calgary. It's about $500 a month for your average single family home, family of 4. All right, number 4, what does it cost to feed your family? Groceries and food for a family of 4. If you're an individual, you can probably do the math. Figure it's going to be a little bit less. But family of four in Vancouver, and so I'm actually surprised these are not that dramatically different, but there is some differences in these. Family of four expect to pay about $1,200 a month for food in Vancouver. Very similar number, $1,100 in Toronto, another similarly big city. $1,100 again in Ottawa. Montreal just under 1,000, Halifax just over 1,000, but Airdrie, Calgary area is lower again, about $900 a month. Just a little bit of a lower cost environment to do business in here, it seems. Okay, number 5, one of the big differences here is people look at just the expense side, and I know we notice this as if you're trying to evaluate a place to live that's different from where you are. You're always looking at how much things cost there. And I know this doesn't affect everybody, but the income, what do people, how much money do people make that live there? Now, I've had a few people, we had some federal government employees that work from home, transfer out from Ottawa, and they didn't do anything. They just came here and started working from here. So as long as they're inside Canada, it didn't matter. And so their income didn't change. And I've had other people get their jobs transferred, and that didn't really change anything either. But quite often, if people are leaving a job there and then getting back a job here, the difference in income really matters. So I know people that are like a teacher or like an office worker or engineer, they're going to make different money in then different areas. So what we're going to go into here is just the median household income in Alberta. So we're going to start in comparing it to Vancouver. Now, one of the things we're looking at is the household income and then the household income after tax, because it only matters how much that you can bring home. Okay, so Vancouver, $90,000 median household income and about $80,000 in after-tax income. Toronto, $97,000 income and about $85,000 after tax. So a little bit higher income, but a little bit of higher tax rate as well. Ottawa, it's about $98,000 median household income and about $84,000 after tax. Montreal is $76,000 in income, a little bit lower than some of these other places, but about $65,000 left after tax. And it's a fairly high tax rate there in Quebec. In Halifax, $81,000 in income and about $70,000 left after tax. But a whopping, in Airdrie, Alberta, the median household income is around $100,000. So higher than anywhere else in Canada that we're looking at, and about $87,000 left over after tax. So that is one of the big reasons to live in Airdrie, Alberta, is the median income with a reasonable tax rate. Okay, here's one that most people miss when they're evaluating a new place to live, is number 6, sales tax. So Alberta doesn't have a provincial sales tax. We still have a GST. So when you buy taxable items here, they're 5%. But the sales taxes can be, the harmonized sales tax in other provinces can be 13 to 15%, depending on where it is you live. And so that makes a huge difference in anything that's taxable. Not most of your groceries, but anything else that you spend, including utilities, a lot of these are taxable. And so it can really add a pretty dramatic difference to your annual disposable income, is that if you're adding 15% on everything you spend, that really adds up. Okay, number 7, transit. So getting around, getting to work in whatever city you're living in is a significant monthly expense. So if a family of 4 living in Vancouver would expect us to spend about $1,200 a month for gas, bus passes, parking, etc. Similar amount in Toronto, $1,100 a month. Ottawa, about $1,000 a month. Similar in Montreal. Halifax, almost exactly the same. In Calgary, it's about $900 bus passes, or in Airdrie, sorry. It's very similar in Calgary. I did the numbers for both, and the bus passes are fairly cheap. There's a transit that goes right from Airdrie right into the city and right to downtown, and then also interacts with Calgary Transit, so very easy to get around. Because taxes are a little lower here, fuel tends to be quite a bit less here than other parts in Canada. And that brings us to number 8, is childcare. So taking care of your kids while you're at work, and we're doing a monthly cost per child as a comparison. And this varies somewhat across the country. Kind of varies a lot, actually. Vancouver expect to spend about $800 a month per child that's in childcare, a preschool child. Toronto is a little less, and you guys tell me if this is right, is about $600, and it's about the same in Ottawa, just a tiny bit less. This really surprised me. Again, it must be another subsidy. $180 in Montreal, is that right? That's wild. Halifax, about $500 a month per month for childcare. And it's not cheap here in Airdrie either. Expecting about $700 a month for daycare. All right, number 9, clothing and personal care. So these are relatively similar across the country, although we have to keep in mind that in Airdrie or in Alberta in general, there's no provincial sales tax. So almost everywhere in Canada, these are plus or minus around $200. With the Vancouver and Toronto going a little bit higher than that, almost $250 a month expected for a family of 4 for clothing and personal care budget. But about $170 in Airdrie. One, it's a little bit cheaper to do business here, and there's no sales tax, so it makes quite a bit of a difference. All right, just before we get into number 10 and kind of our shocking conclusion here, if you're looking to make a move to the Airdrie or Calgary area, anywhere it's in this area, we're a local real estate team. I'd be happy to talk with you. My contact information is down below in the video description. If you just reach out there, we'd be happy to set up a video call. Just generally take 30 to 45 minutes and just talk through what it would be like to move here, answer your questions, and just try to be as helpful as we can. So if you just reach out below, I'll put some electronic contact information or a telephone number. You can reach out and talk with my son Ben, and he'll set it up for you. Okay, number 10 is the cost of eating out. These are a bit of a range. In Vancouver, you expect to be, for a family of 4, to go out for a decent meal, about $200. And you kind of look at these, tend to be vary by the cost of living in the area. It makes sense. The cost of rent, cost of staff is going to vary depending on the cost of living. So Vancouver about $200, Toronto about $180, Ottawa about $160. I would have thought those civil servants would have been spendier than that. Montreal about $150. Halifax about $160. And Airdrie comes in lower than any of them at about $140. Of course, like anything, what does a meal cost? What does a car cost? It's you can spend anything, but things tend to be a little bit cheaper here in the eating out. And Alberta beef is fantastic. Okay, so to wrap it all up, one of the things we need to take all of it together, not just one particular thing. Yes, some of the things are more expensive. Like there's times in like childcare can be more expensive in Airdrie. Cost of living is lower, income, taxes, all the different costs of your life here. But what's the end of the day? And this is actually shocking once you add it all up, because some of the differences aren't that great, but when you add them all up, it's pretty dramatic. So here is discretionary spending income that the average family of 4 making median income and then having a regular life in these different cities should expect to have cash left over at the end of the year. The Vancouver expect to have about $10,000 for your family, or about $2,500 a person. Toronto about $15,000. Ottawa, which is much better, the cost of living is a little lower, particularly housing, about $30,000. Montreal about the same, about $33,000. Halifax about $20,000. But get this, living in Airdrie, Alberta, you expect to have about $41,000 in discretionary income left over. It is dramatically a better financial decision to live in Airdrie, Alberta than just about anywhere in Canada. There's jobs here. It's a good place to live. There's lots to do. If you're considering a move here to Airdrie, Alberta, reach out. Be happy to talk with you. No cost, no obligation. Just talk through what it would be like to live here. Don't mind, that's my dog running security in the background here. In the meantime, I'll post a couple videos here. Take a watch and keep learning more about living here in the wonderful place called Airdrie, Alberta. Talk to you on the next one.